Women were expected to die when their husbands did. Women may have a longer life expectancy than their husbands do now, but in East Asia...
Because when I said that to death do us part, I really meant it. Because you come where I'm going. And we going. That's the mindset, right? That's how they was looking at it.
You know, I couldn't imagine living without my husband, but I mean...
Well, see, I think we made comments where we said that, you know, there was a season and a time period for every experience. Like, they would have knew then what we all know now. They wouldn't have been doing that. They would have been...
I mean...
Our means is going crazy right now.
I love my husband. But,
What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchet REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. Super excited about this video. If you're new to us
and we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 200K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, alright? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's get it.
Women's menstruation. A prominent Roman philosopher, Liny the Elder, wrote this about women's menstruation. On the approach of a woman in this state, milk will become sour. He then went on to say, a swarm of bees, if looked upon by her, will die immediately. In both Egypt and Israel, women spent their menstrual cycles in separate buildings where men were not allowed. Israelis were convinced that by touching a woman on her menstrual cycle, or even anything she touched while she was on her menstrual cycle, would render them all unclean. In Hawaii, the penalty of death could be leveled against a man who entered the hut of a menstruating woman. Women were expected to die when their husbands did. Women may have a longer life expectancy than their husbands do now, but in East Asia...
Because when I said that to death do us part, I really meant it. Because you come where I'm going. And we going. That's the mindset, right? That's how they was looking at it.
You know, I couldn't imagine living without my husband, but I mean...
Well, see, I think we made comments where we said that, you know, there was a season and a time period for every experience. Like, they would have knew then what we all know now. They wouldn't have been doing that. They would have been... Our means is going crazy right now.
I love my husband. But, how y'all doing that?
So what, like...
yeah, that was...
So was the culture then more of like, I could say, like, were the women more afraid to get married then at that point? Because, like, they knew, they was taught, you know, with menstrual cycles, with the uncleanness, with the marriage.
That's in the Bible, so...
Yeah, and they could have just been going off of the word, but it's all about how you perceive it, though, see?
Right. But, okay, so...
Because if we're going to talk about the Bible, we can...
So, listen, I understand true love. You know, you my soulmate.
I feel that.
I understand it. But my thing is, what do they mean when women had, like... In what way?
In what way?
Were they doing this? Because it seemed brutal.
Back
the
then,
way I'm hearing it.
I mean, back then, they had a lot of... They didn't have a lot of tools to make stuff simple. They had a lot of tools to just say, this is what we going to use.
Like, I'm a hurt?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Most likely.
I understand true love, but I mean, that's a little bit.
Oh, that was a different one.
I mean, the first was from the gate. I'm like, okay, why are we talking about this? But okay.
Hey.
Come on.
Up until the 1800s, when a woman lost her husband, she was required to die as well. This was known as the practice of sati.
No widows.
So, if the wife didn't kill herself before the funeral, she would have to brave the funeral pyre while still alive. But brides weren't just burned for regular funerals. They would also burn themselves and their children ahead of military attacks if the war effort was going poorly for their husband. Women were forced to kill their own children.
Oh no,
Women were forced to become the villain themselves when it came to unwanted births. In ancient Rome, the mother of a baby with a disability was expected to abandon it somewhere or suffocate it themselves. Even in Israel, the bones of at least 100 disabled babies have been found by archaeologists in the city's sewer system by the shore. A bell fastened to her head. If you were a woman in ancient Greece or Rome, there was no complaining either. Women were not allowed to speak when company came, let alone sit down to dinner. It was early bedtime and dinner in their room for the women of the house, so as not to disturb the men. And the only time women were allowed to leave the house was in the company of men, a practice that many women put up with to this day. At least it's not as bad as medieval Denmark, where women who argued or vented their grievances were restrained in something called a shrew's fiddle. While this device would bind a woman's hands and face, the real insult was making her walk around town with a bell fastened to her head to complete the humiliation. Slave girls were one thing, but wives were another. Sleeping with someone's slave girl may have been a misdemeanor in Rome, but wives were a different story. A male who was a Roman citizen could kill his wife without repercussion, as long as he killed her male lover as well. Baby girls. Although women have been historically discriminated against during their time of the month, this is still much better than the baby girls in ancient Greece and Rome ever got. While favoring the birth of baby boys, baby girls were commonly the victim of something called exposing, where they were left in the wilderness by their parents to die.
So it was around that time, you know what I'm saying, where it was like, oh, we need a young man born so we can have another king type of stuff, a young prince type of energy. So it was real focused on that type of stuff. It was like,
yeah.
Isn't
crazy. It ironic? They did all that and we still overpopulate y'all.
Yeah. I mean, we need women in this world, like, regardless, you know what I'm saying, how they look at it. Like, a woman is a reason for every creation, every person being on this earth, you know what I'm saying? Without y'all, we wouldn't be here, you know what I'm saying? So, I think that...
Giving us our flowers.
Yeah, y'all definitely deserve it. 100%. You ain't about to catch me pushing nothing. No way, sir. No, we're not doing it. Y'all built different, man. Y'all strong, yeah. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this day and age, woman, y'all wouldn't catch them doing none of that.
Yeah, Matt.
That's crazy, bro. That's some stuff right there.
Even Egyptian girls, who were more socially equal, didn't fare much better when they came from poor families. Property damage. In ancient Rome, a priestess who served the goddess Vesta could be buried alive if she was sexually active before the age of 30. On the other hand,
heard that before.
Sex with the master was in a Roman slave girl's job description. Friends of the master had to ask his permission to sleep with his slave girls first, or else they were charged with property damage. Owning real estate and credit cards in the United States.
Talk about it.
Women couldn't own real estate in their own name in the U.S. until 1839, and then only in the state of Mississippi. It's no wonder that even in the 1960s, an unmarried woman would find it almost impossible to get a credit card. Even into the 1970s, the card could only be issued in the husband's name. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974 fixed this, but as any woman can tell you, they still have a long way to go for real equality and equal rights. The very shameful one. Women were required to be virgins until marriage, or else. Unmarried daughters who were sexually active could be sold into slavery by their fathers in ancient Athens. Meanwhile, in Samoa, part of the wedding ceremony involved manually rupturing a bride's hymen in front of the village to prove her purity. This demeaning rite was not performed by the groom, but by the chief of the tribe on his behalf. Theatrical stage. Women...
Yo, that was some times y'all was in.
Dang.
I'm fumbling on my words. I don't think I have the words to say. Like, that's... Okay, this is what I'm going to say. We have a lot of Greek movies that shows the empires, the richness, and how women had to wear all these vows and stuff like that. You feel me? But they never really dove into this type of storyline when it came. I mean, that's obviously the time we was watching. Right. They always showed the woman coming out, kissing on her husband. He's going to war, and, you know what I'm saying, he's being a brutal king, and he coming back, and he gets to chill and live his lavish lifestyle. But they never showed the side where the woman was being sold into slavery. Right. They never showed the side. But we, again, now, if you look into it, the women was dressed so cold.
Mm-hmm.
They was dripped out in gold.
Yeah, yeah.
But you never think that this was happening around that time.
Right. And it's just sitting here being a woman and listening to all this, like I'm hurting every time they say something.
You crazy. You crazy.
I really am, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's sad. Mm.
Nah, it's like when I go watch these movies, I gotta look deep into it to see what the women were really doing. Because we seen them kneel down.
Their point of view.
We seen them sit quiet, but we never knew the repercussions like this.
Mm-hmm.
Were not allowed to appear on the theatrical stage until 1660. Although Shakespeare wrote many of the best female roles in the history of the theater, it was illegal for women to perform them. Instead, the roles were given to prepubescent males to portray, until many years after Shakespeare's death in 1616. Kidnapping. Kidnapping brides continues as a way to get married. The capturing of women and making them into wives is even documented in the Bible. It doesn't stop there, though. In the 1800s, stealing women for wives was widespread in Ireland and existed until the 1940s in China. Shockingly enough, it went on until 1959 in Japan. Before history was recorded, the cruel treatment of women started at the dawn of civilization, even before history was recorded. In fact, it was archaeologists in Africa who found the first evidence of misogyny in the remains of prehistoric villages, which indicated that while the men remained in one place, the women were often moved around. So while the men enjoyed a long life in their own home village, the women were imported from other scattered areas. What this suggests to archaeologists is that in these involuntary marriages, women were kidnapped and then forced to start families with the men who had captured them.
It was interesting, man. I saw the movie, The Woman King, and when it was time for her to marry, I believe like the chief or whatnot, whoever he was, she said no, I don't want to, and she was forced. Well, she wasn't forced. She had the option to go and marry, or she could have go stay a virgin and be a war leader.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Go fight. A warrior. Yeah. And she chose to be a warrior.
Yeah. The different practices around the world, it's just, for us, it's different. It's eye-opening. I feel like because we look at it through the lens of today.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of what lens, some of this stuff was just, come on. Why were we treated as second-class citizens just because we were born differently?
I don't know. It's just different to digest because it's a different. You know
I'm still hurting right here.
Yeah.
Seriously. The one in Samoa was the one that was most shocking to me.
All of them was shocking to me. All of them. Just the fact of how women was just being looked at. You know what I'm saying? And then it went to the kidnapping phase. Where it's like, oh, we're going to get you and you're going to force you into a marriage.
Right. And then
like,
the fact that some of this were not that long ago. You know, especially, and it's crazy because we were just talking about this before we started talking about, before we turned on the video about women's rights in the United States. And
yeah.
Even like early 2000s, just finished reading a book on how the bank wanted a woman's signature. A woman's husband's signature to move her money around. And she was like, I'm not married no more. You know, so that's crazy to think I was alive during that time.
Yeah, that's a starting point to all of this, man. And that's just crazy because you got to think about, like, who was the psycho to say that this is how we're going to treat people? Like, who had the real root to saying, I'm going to be the one to call the shots and say this is what we need to do? That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? That was a time, though.
So thankful for change. So thankful for all of the women leaders, activists throughout the times who have fought for the rights of women. I'm so glad that I could be able to sit on the side of my husband and be my own person.
No, real talk.
Be my own person. I love that. Woo. Thank y'all for going and do the work. Y'all walk so I can run.
Makes you think about a lot of situations different, man, because
yes.
I think that's what it is. It's just knowledge needed to be, dumped into the heads of certain people, man, so they can know what they're doing, what they at, what they stand for, how they supposed to be moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would hold yourself up into a different standard, into a different light, if you really knew what was happening at one point. That's necessary.
human history is bizarre.
It's crazy. It's too much to think about. It's too much to take in.
Yeah, so we hope you guys enjoy this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like to support the channel that way, as well as our reaction request form is in our description
box below.
We'll see you soon.
Peace.